Daf Memches, the final daf of Parshas Vayechi and Sefer Bereshis, and this is the biur, the more in-depth explanation on the maimer that we learned yesterday, Chachlili Einayim, about what does it mean in Aveda that our eyes are red from wine and our teeth are white from milk. This is a blessing that Yaakov gave to Yehuda. So now to explain the previous maimer, so Torah is called both wine and milk, like the pasuk says in Yeshaya. It says that those who want water, whoever's thirsty, go to water, and then it says it mentions about swapping for you, that you'll be able to get it without swapping for wine and milk. So Torah is actually called all three. Now, there are two levels of love, of Ahava. There's that we normally discuss. There's Ahava's Olam and Ahava Rabba. Ahava Rabba is the love which comes from above. That it's a passionate, fiery love that Hashem gives us. And then Ahava's Olam is what we achieve ourselves through His kindness, through reflection and meditation. Then there's an even higher love than both of these, which is called Ahava beta'nogim, which is a love of pleasure and bliss. And that's a love of Hashem, which is beyond both of these two types of love. Now, these types of love correspond to the different ways of spelling Yud Kei Vav Kei. You could either spell Yud Kei Vav Kei b'milui Hayin with the when you spell it out, Yud is Yud Vav Daled, Hey is Hey Hey, Vav Vav Vav, and then the final Hey again, Hey Hey. So that is the gematria of 52, and that's Shem Ban. Then you have Shem Ma, where you spell Hey is Hey Aleph, then Vav is Vav Aleph Vav, and then again Hey Aleph, Sag, and then which is with Yuds. And then the only thing is that the Vav is Vav Aleph Vav, and then Shem Ab, where both the Heys and Vav is spelt out with Yuds. So now, what does it mean spiritually? So Ban is Hashem's light as it is involved in worlds, and Ban is the gematria of behemoth, animal. It's very much part of the world, and it's been lowered down. And although it has a high source from Toyo, but this is Shem Ban is after the lights of Toyo crashed and it fell down. Shem Ma is the light which is purely godly, and it refines Ban and it directs Ban. But first, Ban does its best effort to refine the world. Ban is Hashem's light within the world, so it's serving and illuminating the world. So to refine the 288 sparks, there are pach nitzuzim, and then Shema washes over, and it achieves a second biur, or a second refinement. Now, Malchus of Atzilus, which Malchus is Shem Ban, it descends each night to refine Biyah, refine the lower worlds, B'Yetziarasi, and the idea of night also is connected to Helem, concealment. Like Zohar talks about this behemoth, this mighty animal eating and drinking, which is about Malchus refining from the lower worlds. Because when the sparks crash and fell down into Biyah, so that it's a mixture of good and bad, it's not pure godliness, and therefore Malchus has to come down to refine and transform them. And that's therefore this level of Malchus and Shem Ban is Ahava's Olam, which is the love that we achieve through our own efforts. And it's called Ahava's Olam for a few reasons. One, because Olam comes from the word concealed, that this love was concealed, and now we bring it out through our meditation. And because before davening, this love is concealed, but when we daven, we reveal this love of Hashem. Also, Ahava's Olam, because it comes from reflection on ideas related to the world and worlds. That when we see miracles, we see transformation where if water turns to fire, fire turns to water, so transformation, we say, wow. And that is one of the ideas to think about that creates this love. So it's connected to miracles and transformation. And also it's called Ahava because the cause of this Ahava, the cause of this love is the world. And also with high worlds through refining the sparks in Biyah and Asiya, that propels this love. Because what we're doing is we're taking sparks of the world and making them godly. When it's revealed how they're godly, it creates a love of Hashem, because now this godliness is within us. We've refined it. On the other hand, Shema is where there's no gray area and there's no complication. It's just pure godliness from the beginning, and that's Ahava Rabbah. There's no need for refinement, and like Shem Ban, which has to transform the bad into good, and whereas with Ahava Rabbah and Shema, it's the love of Hashem that the neshama naturally has, and that's why it's called Ahava Rabbah, great love, because Avas Olam, it's what we can achieve through our focus of our mind and trying to bring it to our heart, and therefore because it's just what we're based on, what we're focused on or what we're involved in, so then later when we get involved in something else, that love can dissipate and disappear. Whereas the Ahava from the neshama, because it doesn't come through our efforts, it never leaves, it's always there. And similarly above, Shema is pure godliness and without the need to refine it. And nevertheless, this Ahava Rabbah, this great love from Shema, gets it integrates with the Avas Olam, with the love that we achieve ourselves. And through that causes a Bira Sheni, a second refinement. So Shem Ban is actively involved in refining the world, and then Shema is the second refinement from above. A marshal, perhaps a parable, you could have two ways to influence someone. One is through active involvement, and the other one is through just being a dugmachai, just through being an example, like it says about Rabbi of Karlin, that from his davening he had thousands of Balik Shuvah. His davening was so powerful it shook people's neshama. This is like Shema, it's really above worlds, but it achieves the second refinement after the first refinement from Shem Ban, from active involvement. Then we have the third love, which is beta'nogim, this love of pleasure and bliss, and that is Shem Ab. The name of Hashem as it's spelt with the Yud Kei Vav Kei with all Yuds, Hey Yud Vav Hey Yud, and this is in Chachma, the highest of the 10 spheres. So Ma is in the Midas, Ban is in Malchus, and Ab is in Chachma. Next paragraph, Achine. But although Ahava beta'nogim, this bliss, love with bliss and pleasure of Hashem, is the highest level, but it only comes after the first two types of love of Avas Olam and Ahava Rabbah. So to explain, every world is made up of the spheres, which are the godly lights in that world, as that word can take it, Olamus, the world, and Hechalas, chambers. Now, the spheres themselves are godliness, and they don't need refinement. And that's like Shema. Whereas the worlds and the chambers, they are like the kalim and the concealments, and they need refinement through, and that the refinement is to include them with the spheres, and that is through refining Shem Ban, and that so that they should be, the worlds and the chambers should be included in the spheres. And then Shema comes to do the second bearer, and this is the idea of Yichud Havaya Elikim, unification of Hashem's name Havaya, which is beyond an Elikim, Hashem within nature, which is like the masculine and feminine spiritual energies. Ma is the masculine energy and Ban is the feminine energy. Ban nurtures from within, whereas Ma commands from above. Now, the pasuk says in Bereshis that Zachar and Nekeva Bram, that Hashem created them male and female, and he blessed them. So we've got this masculine, and besides, of course, simply Adam and Chava, male and female, but we also have spiritually masculine energy and feminine energy. And when you have them both together, then Hashem blesses them. And like Zaya says, that Hashem only rests in a complete place. That after you have the masculine and feminine, so then you get the blessing, which is beyond both of them. And this is like the chuppah, that you have the chasen and the kala, and they come together in the chuppah, and then you have the chuppah, which surrounds and is beyond both of them. So similarly, through Shem Ban, that refines the worlds, then Shem Ma, which shines a second light beyond the worlds to refine them a second time, and then they unify together, and then through that you have Shem Ah, which is beta'nogim, this love of pure bliss and pleasure. And that is the Vayvarchais, and that's the blessing that you have after you have male and female together, because Bracha and Baruch is in Chachma, which is Shem Ab. Now, where does Hashem's unlimited light from beyond worlds, which is called Keser, or within Keser, there's two components, there's Atik and Arich. So where does that reveal itself? It reveals itself in the highest of the spheres, which is Chachma. And Chachma is totally nullified, totally bottled, and therefore lets Hashem's light shine through. Now, Atik is in human, the way it reflects within us is pleasure, and Arich is Ratzon, is will and desire, and pleasure is manifest in Chachma, like when you have a new idea, so you feel happy, you feel excited, you feel pleasure. So that's the idea of Atik in clothing itself in Chachma. And the Keser is in general is in clothing Chachma, because Chachma just lets the subconscious talk without disturbance, without rethinking it like Bina does, and therefore that is the seat of Ahava, beta'nogim, a love of pleasure and bliss. Next paragraph, the Zel. So now let's go back to the pasuk. The pasuk says that my eyes are red from wine, and we quoted the Gemara yesterday as well, that chachlili is made up of is a composite word of cheich li, that my palate, which tastes, says for me, that it wants it. And why is it for me twice? Because this is referring to the two types of Ahava. There's like that we discussed, Ahava Selam and Ahava Rabbah, and when you have both of them, so then they elevate to Keser, which is and where Keser is manifest within the spheres in Shem Ab and Chachma, and this is the Cheich, the palate, which tastes and enjoys. That the idea of tam, like the Gemara says, Cheich, so the idea of tam, of taste, which relates to pleasure, is also the same word tam that we use for the time in the trop, the tunes that with which the Torah is read. And like we know that there are four levels within Torah. There's the letters, then higher than the letters, the crowns above the letters. Higher than the crowns is the nakudas that don't even appear in the Torah at all, the vowels. And then the highest of all is the time in the cantillation marks, the trop. And they correspond to the four ways of spelling out Hashem's name, which is Shem Ab, Shem Sag, Shem Man, Shem Ban. So the highest level is the trop, the tunes, which is the same word as taste, and that's because both of them are. The taste represents pleasure, which is something beyond, and the tune also is sort of something beyond between the lines. And a deeper level than the words themselves, which are just the sort of the outer facts. And so just like when a person tastes something nice, he has pleasure from it. So similarly, the timing of Chachma that has Chachma allows Atik, which is the seat of pleasure, to manifest. So this is what the pasuk means, that the eyes are red from wine. Wine is Torah, and like the Gemara says, Nichnas Yain Yatzah said, when wine comes in, the secret comes out. The secret is the Ahava, the hidden love of Hashem that we all have within. And that is Ahava Rabbah. And then Ahava Rabbah, this love of Hashem from beyond, encloses itself in Ahava's Olam, which is the love that we develop ourselves through our own meditation. And then when you have both of these loves together, so then it elevates to Chachma, which is the seat of, as we said, of pleasure from the subconscious, from the deeper soul and deeper self. So with Hashem, this is also the seat of the beyond Hishalshus, beyond the chain of worlds, and now the revelation of Shem Ab is especially on Shabbos, because Shabbos is connected to Chachma, and within Chachma the supernal pleasure of Hashem Keser, which is manifest in Chachma, like the pasuk says in Yeshayim, we say before Kiddush and Shabbos day, the Karasa l'Shabbos Einek, that will proclaim Shabbos as pleasure. So we see that pleasure is connected to Shabbos, and therefore this love of bliss and delight and pleasure of Hashem is connected to Shabbos. And like the Gemara says, that anyone who says Vayichol on Shabbos is becoming a partner with Hashem in creation. So again, we're reaching this high level of godliness. And so when we eat on Shabbos, we should have in mind that we're trying to bring down the supernal pleasure, the light of Keser, into our neshama. But it doesn't just happen on Shabbos. You have to work hard on Erev Shabbos, on Friday, and throughout the week. Like it says that Mishatarach Erev Shabbos, someone who works hard before Shabbos on Friday and earlier, Yechol B'Shabbos will be able to eat and enjoy on Shabbos. And that is us working on developing our own love for Hashem ourselves. So now the pasuk talks about the eyes becoming red from wine. So what are so within the eyes? There's two parts. There's the red part and the darker part, and then there's the white of the eye. So the red part is this passion that the neshama just wants to go up and be included in Hashem, to just be mesmerized by staring at the Hashem's glory. And like it says in Idrab and Zaya, that when Zah stares at, Zah is the midas, the 6 midas within the spheres, and when it stares at Arich beyond, it receives 370 lights. When it stares at the forehead of Arich, it receives 370 lights, and when it stares at the face of Arich, 150 lights. So Arich is a part of Keser, this light of Hashem, which is beyond the worlds. It's the last part that we can call part of the Matzil, the emanator, not part of what was emanated or created. Whereas Zah is already within the spheres of Atzilus, and it's this, and then developing into Malchus and then into Bia, into the worlds which are not purely godly. And that's why even Atzilus is called a world. So therefore, Zah, because it's lower, it's somewhat more limited, some level of concealment. So therefore, it has this yearning, and it becomes with inflamed passion to go up to its source. And like a Rotzi, this powerful yearning for Hashem, and that's the red in the eye, which is this passionate fire. And then this elicits a light from Hashem to come down from Arich, from the Keser beyond Hishalshalus, into Zah, into Hashem, into the worlds within Hishalshalus, within the chain of worlds. So this is like our eye, we have the pasuk in Tehillim that says our eye is to Hashem, but then we also have a pasuk Hashem's eye is to those who fear Him. So in other words, us looking up to Hashem with yearning, then that brings down Hashem's light onto us. And this is like preparing on Friday in order to have the pleasure on Shabbos. And this is the light, 370 lights of the 150 lights that are brought down, which is through our yearning. Then these extra lights of Hashem are brought down onto us and into the world. And now, in general, Re'iyas, vision, is more external compared to the emotions and the intellect. So in other words, the vision, although it's part of the face, it's lower than the brain. And therefore, when we're staring at the forehead of Arich, in other words, we're mesmerized and looking up at Hashem, and yearning for Hashem, and then Hashem shines upon us. This is only in a way Re'iyah, it's only in a way of vision, which means that we're seeing it outside of us, not like a feeling or an understanding which is inside us. So that's all. Then the second half of the pasuk is and our teeth become white. So teeth are what refine, because it cuts up the food and divides it into parts that we're able to take in. And this is like in pregnancy, that it's preparing the child for birth, and when we have an emotion, so seichel has to make sure that the emotion is suitable and is accurate according to his knowledge and that he has already before, and to check, is my emotion, is it something that is correct, or is it bent, is it twisted based on ulterior motives? And that all happens in like the mother's stomach. In other words, the child is the midas, and first we have to refine it to make sure it's all good and it's all in line with the chachma. And so then what the refined part comes out as atzilus, which is the world of godliness, and then the psolis, what is the not good part, that gets pushed down into the lower worlds. And this idea of refinement, of keeping the good and pushing down the lower, happens in all the worlds, and each world that world, it keeps what's considered good and holy for that world and pushes down the lower part. And then after the baby is born, then it grows through the milk. And this is adding chayas, adding vitality and light, so that the midas, the emotions, should be radiant. And this is the idea of white teeth. The teeth themselves, before the milk, they're not yet white. Why? Because he's working on refining. Is this which part of this emotion is true to the ideas that I know to be true, and which part is subjective and based on ulterior motives and false. So it's because there's a struggle, it's not white. Whereas once that finishes, then the next stage is white, because everything's already all refined and it's all nice and now all smooth. And this is the meaning of the pasuk Peseach es yadecha. We say in Ashrei to open your hands. So yadecha, it also means yudecha. Open the yuds. The yud represents tzimtzum, that it's the small letter, doesn't let the light through. Like the difference between yud and vav. So vav is like a hair, and the yud is like the pore from which the hair grows out. Now, the Yud Gimel Midas Arachmim, the 13 attributes of mercy, are compared to the hair, the beard, and that's why they're called Yud Gimel Tikunei Diknot. They're like 13 strands of the beard, and so therefore we have the follicle, and then the hair which comes out of it, which is like the Yud is the follicle, and the Vav is the hair that comes out. And within these Yud Gimel Midas, the 13 attributes, so it says that Abba, the father, is Chachma. And because the father and mother is Chachma and Bin, and then they give birth to the children, which is the Midas and Malchus, so that the father gets sustained from the 8th of the 13 Midas Arachmim. What's the 8th? It's Noitzer. Now Noitzer which means to guard, but it has the same letters as Rotzen. So that means that Chachma connects to Ratzon, will and desire, which is a part of Keser. it's Arich, and so we have the Yod, which is the symptom, the concealment in the skin. It's just the hole in the skin, and then the Chayes can only come out through that hole, and then the Vav is when the hair actually comes out. So this is all after the midah is refined and in the teeth, which is about refinement, like we said, cutting up the food, and then once it's refined, so now it's all clear and can just let Hashem shine, and that is the milk, which makes the teeth white. This concludes the Maimer and Sefer Bereshis, and I want to dedicate this l'schus l'Rachanimo Yosef Binyamin ben Nechama Rachel.